Well, welcome to this episode of Business Matters. This is Season 3, Episode 9. My name is Scott Rogers. I'm the Senior Director of Governmental Affairs at the Eau Claire Area Chamber of Commerce. And I'm pleased to have as our guest today, Julie Thoney from Xcel Energy, where she's the Community Relations and Economic Development Manager. Julie, welcome.
Well, hello. Thank you for having me here today.
We appreciate it, Julie. And we're going to really talk about energy policy, infrastructure growth, and the role of Xcel Energy. But first, we want to tell you that we're coming from the Wind Technology Studio, and we want to thank our media sponsor, Home Tech by Mosaic. As I mentioned, we're going to talk about energy and how it intersects with things like economic development. We're going to look at things like infrastructure, reliability, and public policy, and how it affects our communities and our local businesses. So, Julie, why don't we start off by talking about just Xcel Energy and where it fits? What is the coverage area that Xcel Energy does in our community?
Sure, absolutely. Well, we are an investor-owned utility, and we are headquartered out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Our company covers 8 states, actually, but here in Wisconsin, we cover kind of western and northwestern Wisconsin, about as far north as Ashland, all the way far as south down to around the La Crosse area. East we go to about Abbotsford and then over to the Minnesota border. That's kind of our whole territory. It's a little Swiss cheesy. The co-ops are speckled throughout the whole area, but that's kind of our general service territory.
Well, we're glad you're here. And, you know, the one thing to think about is, what is the role of energy in supporting local businesses in our economy?
Well, energy is needed by everyone, including all of the local businesses. We want to ensure that we have energy that can meet the needs of those businesses at any point in time they need us, and at the same time helping our residential customers to be, with the needs that they have as well. And we definitely are part of the whole community. I think something people forget sometimes is that, yes, we supply a need as well, but we're also a major employer in this community. We employ nearly 1,000 employees throughout Wisconsin, and we are actually part of the economic vitality of the community itself as well. So all the things that we do to help our own customers also helps us as a business. Our employees live here, we work here, we're part of the fabric that our communities actually are. So that's a kind of a interesting point, or something that we're proud of as well, I guess.
Yeah, the impact of the organization, as well as we expect when we flip that light switch or plug something in, or we're going to build a new house or a business, that we're going to have power that works, right?
Yeah, you kind of expect us to do that, and reliability is something we're very proud of. We have about a 99% reliability here in our area, so we're actually very proud of that.
So how do you make that happen? We use the term infrastructure to really relate to a lot of things, but when it comes to energy, what is the infrastructure that makes it possible for us to have our lights come on and all the other uses of electricity?
Sure. Well, we're not unique, but an investor-owned utility like us. We are a vertically integrated utility. What that means is we own all of the sections of energy, from generation and then transmitting that all the way to the distribution lines that come out to the businesses and the homes. So we own and operate the full picture, and we operate ours on a kind of our upper Midwest system, and that covers all the states in our region, so North and South Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan. And we operate that kind of as one whole system. Roughly 80% of the energy used by customers right here in the Chippewa Valley is produced actually over, not here in our state, in Minnesota and the Dakotas, but there is some here in Wisconsin as well, and that's what's nice about our system, is we have a very diverse energy mix. So we have the ability to have real reliable power, and we also can do it cost effectively because we can shift between our different sources. So of course, we still have some coal. We're working to get out of that, and our goal is still zero carbon by 2050, and we're well on the way to that. We do have wind and solar and We have our nuclear fleets over in Minnesota, and we also, of course, have hydro right here in Wisconsin. We have 19 hydro plants on the rivers here, so, and we do have two biofuel plants as well. So, a lot happening and a lot behind the scenes to keep all of that happening and make sure that everyone has, like you said, when you flip the switch, you want the lights to come on. So,
So really, yeah, a very diverse source of electricity, the way you generate it. How has that changed in recent years, and how do you see it changing going forward?
well, we have, since 2005, we've been tracking our coal and our carbon production, coal use, carbon production, carbon reduction, and we are obviously continuing down that path, reducing coal, and folks are very much wanting renewable energy, so we have been adding a lot of wind and solar. We do have some projects that we do here in Wisconsin. We've got some solar projects we're working on right now. However, a lot of that happens where there's more open plains and things as far as wind and some of that, some in the Dakotas. But as a company, we are just working hard to ensure that we are using the technologies that are available today, but again, relying on our base power sources as well to ensure that reliability. So, for example, as we're moving away from coal, we do use natural gas as well, and that still is not carbon free, but it is certainly a reliable form of energy, and it's much less carbon intensive than coal. So that's been a nice bridge fuel for stepping in that direction towards zero carbon.
So there might be an impression that some of the renewable sources are more expensive. Is that true?
No, that's not necessarily the case. It has changed over the years, of course. Anytime something new comes out, there's certain costs involved. But when we are purchasing or setting up different structures of energy, different infrastructure, we are doing that at the utility scale, and so we're able to purchase that equipment and the things that are needed to make that happen at a much different price point than other maybe third party folks or things like that. So.
So over the years, there's been a lot of emphasis on conservation, and we've seen a lot of even from households to businesses, et cetera, find ways to reduce their need for energy.
Mm-hmm.
But we understand now that energy demand is going up a lot. So what's driving that?
Yeah, the demand has changed a lot over the years, and conservation is still a good way to try to save energy or keep your bills down or things like that. But when we start looking big picture, like on a commercial or industrial level, just the nature of different types of industries have really changed in the world today, I guess, or in the industry, and there is a lot of increased demand for energy, and that's something that we are looking at. One thing to keep in mind with all of that is, as a company and as an industry, we don't just we plan our energy needs out for many years in advance. We have a Midwest energy plan that has been approved by the commissions, and we're very thoughtful and planful on how we source our energy and how we provide energy, and we need to ensure that we're able to be there for all of our customers, not just maybe something new in large out there that might be requiring a large source of energy.
So that leads us to public policy, because you talk about the demands and the planning and that sort of thing, but
Mm-hmm.
you are influenced by uh, utility commissions. You're influenced by what maybe the state legislature or the U.S. government does. So where does policy influence energy these days?
Policy is important. I mean, that's something that we are definitely very much involved in. We have paid employees that work in Madison at the state level. We have national employees involved at the national level, and one thing to remember, and we tend to remind policymakers of as well, is that we might be different than other states, but here in Wisconsin, we are a very regulated utility. We are governed by the Public Service Commission of Wisconsin, and we do have to have everything we do has to be approved. So there is that to keep in mind. But people try to make policies around things that they feel will protect customers or just community members throughout the state and or businesses, and we fully understand that as well. So it's super important for us to have a good working relationship with our local and state legislators, and we really actually do. We, in fact, next week we're having our annual legislative day where we bring employees down to the Capitol and we stop by and we chat with all the different legislators where our employees live or somewhere they work, and we talk about topics that are important to energy. And I feel like that type of networking is very important and very advantageous to ensuring that we have those working relationships with the lawmakers.
So you mentioned the Public Service Commission, and if someone lives in your territory, they're going to get electricity from you. They're not going to get it from somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And so where does the role of the regulator come in here in making sure that you can continue to function as an organization, but that rates are affordable too? How does that actually work?
That's a very good point as well. When we make our rates, the commission decides how much or how we ask for new rates and how they approve them, and they keep all of those things in mind. And it's not like we can just make up some number and charge whatever we want. We have to build in all of our costs into our rate structures. So everything from employees to trucks to labor and all the things that we need to operate just like any other business does. One thing that we are proud of is we do really try hard to focus on affordability for our customers, and we do try to keep our bills as low as possible. I'm sure you can imagine with all of the changes and the infrastructure being built and all the things needing to happen just as an industry. I mean, not just with changes, but some of these poles and things have been out there for 50, 100 years, long time. And some of it just needs to be replaced and upgraded. And there's new technologies that make things better and better for our customers and safer for our employees. That's another piece we always have to think about is safety. But so back to the rate making, even though we've been working on rate cases and we just had one approved for this year now, we are very proud that we're still less than 2% of people's wallet share. And that, when you talk about the things that hit people's pocketbooks the most, I mean, I have a house too, right? It's your mortgage or your rent and your food, and then your utilities are right up there. But we are trying hard to make sure that stays affordable or as low as possible for people.
So we sort of take it for granted, and that's probably a good thing.
Yeah, yes, a good thing, and also something sometimes people just, like you said, you flip the switch and it's always there, but we are definitely focusing on our customers always.
So we may take some things for granted, but there are some trends.
Yep.
So you have policymakers who are looking at various kinds of things who could change the playing field that you're going to operate on. Business Matters is about businesses, about the chamber and how we represent the business community. So how does that all kind of intersect? What should business people know about trends in policies these days?
Well, I think honestly, it's paying attention and ensuring that we're all working together as a community, right? I sit on quite a few different boards. I'm on the Eau Claire Area EDC board. I'm on the Chamber board. I'm on the Chippewas EDC board. I'm on Momentum West board. And the reason I'm saying that is just because wearing those different hats, but us as an industry, we work with a lot of different businesses, a lot of different business leaders, ensuring that we're all thinking together, working together, ensuring that we have kind of a goal in mind for our community, what type of growth we want to see, because as these companies or things change, maybe there's a certain company that wants to move here or come here, is this even the right place for it? Is it a business friendly environment? Working together to ensure we have housing for those people, employees to fill the seats if they come, all of those things. It takes all of us working together to ensure that it's a great place to be.
So the kind of before we leave policy, are there policy things on the horizon we should be aware of, things that we should be concerned about, things we should be advocating for?
There's always a couple of things. There's policies that are out there regarding people are starting to be concerned a little bit about data centers and how that might affect everyone from environment to community to um, what the community looks like. How are we going to handle that? How are their waters? All of those types of things. And I think there is some policy that can be placed out there to ensure that communities are protected and safe. Again, I think it's important for business leaders, community leaders, and even us as utilities to have that good working relationship with those legislators, though. We need policies that make sense for our communities, but we don't want things that are enacted just out of fear or pressures from people who just simply don't like a certain piece of something. So, um, yeah.
Yeah, so let's step back into that whole idea of development of industries, about growth in communities. So, one of the reasons you serve on all those boards is that your organization is part of the landscape of uh, helping businesses grow, expand, start new businesses, start new sites.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about that. Not only how the energy company fits in encouraging that, but the specifics of what has to happen to make sure there's energy for a new development.
Absolutely. That's a really good question because I think people are afraid, let's say this big new company comes along with maybe it's a data center or maybe it's some type of manufacturing that uses a lot of technology and requires a ton of energy. However you want to look at it, the numbers that they're asking for are much larger than really anyone else on our system. But that is something to really keep in mind is that, well, a couple of things. Again, I mentioned earlier, we plan our energy needs out for years in advance. And if someone new, very, very large, is going to be coming on our system, first of all, we have to do what's called a system impact study, and that will literally analyze the whole system and all the generation needs and the transmission needs and whatever else there might be to that picture. And we will help decide if our system as it is can even handle that load. Right now, we do have plenty of capacity, plenty of room for growth, and we're doing that. But we still do these studies to make sure how that particular business would impact the system. We also, as a new customer comes on like that, right now we're using contracts, but if we would have one like that, but in Minnesota there is actually a tariff or a rate that's just for data centers, for example. And we are looking at filing one of those this year for right here in Wisconsin. And that is purposeful because it will be a publicly available rate information tariff, and it explains how anyone in that category who comes exactly how their rate structure will be, how they have to pay, what they have to pay. If they need new generation sources, they are writing the check for that. We have it set up so that anything they need up front that has to be built or done for them, they are paying for that up front. So that does not impact our other customers. It's not hitting us and making us raise rates to be able to afford to do those kinds of things.
Yeah, so you just answered a question that I didn't even ask yet, but it sort of makes sense. And we did bring up the whole idea of data centers because there's been a lot of debate over that in various communities, and in fact, perhaps some of the debate has not been with accurate information. Would you characterize it that way?
Accurate or maybe just some of it's outdated, right? I mean, first of all, when people hear the word data center, they just automatically think AI, and then that sparks some fear in folks. They're really kind of two separate things. A data center, honestly, is nothing more than a building with a bunch of computers in it. That's all it is. And there are so many things in our lives right now that need or use data from our phones. I mean, anytime you look up Google or a search or take photos that go in the cloud, all of that is housed in a data center. There's data for that. Think about all the medical things that have data now. You used to walk into your doctor's office and they'd pull out the chart and you'd chat about it. That's not a thing anymore. The charts are also in the cloud and they use them for that. That's sitting somewhere in a data center. Schools, I mean, almost everything in our lives right now has something to do with data. So part of that is just the way the world works now, and it kind of it is what it is. And again, AI is another piece, and that uses a lot of data as well to calculate things or whatever. And I think people are afraid more of the whole robotics and the things that that might, you know, bring. But um, data centers are really just it's just part of the world we live in today.
So we're doing more things that take electricity to do them,
We
and that
are.
is increasing your demand.
It is.
So
It
to
is.
do electric vehicles, some things like that come into play too.
EVs can come into play. Yes, and that's another piece that we definitely are keeping an eye on. That's part of our carbon-free hope is that people, you know, start utilizing that type of technology, and that's fine. But we are planning for that as well. If everyone in my neighborhood would decide to buy an EV tomorrow, we're definitely going to need new transformers for the neighborhood and different types of ways of looking at things. So we are definitely keeping all of that in mind as we're planning for all of this growth.
So is it fair to say, as I've kind of been listening to you, if someone has a concern about data centers or electricity use and how much is it going to be, the first thing you should do is actually ask the energy company if they can handle it. Would that be a
If
fair?
if I could have coffee with every person with a question, I'd love to because I have been having a lot of coffee meetings lately. You probably see me around doing that. But it's honestly to try to help people understand. You mentioned, and I don't think I quite answered that because we kind of started talking about maybe truths or mistruths or whatever. But again, these are not new things. They've been around for a long time. So, yes, the first iteration of some of these larger data centers, they did use a ton of water because that was just the nature of how they did their cooling and things like that. But over time, they have transformed and they've made changes and they've heard people say, you know, this is what we don't like. And so now they either use closed loop systems or some of them actually are just using air cooling systems now. We just announced today in Minnesota actually that we have an agreement with a new Google data center over in Pine Island, Minnesota, and that just came out today. And yes, that one will be cooled by air. So for the entire campus, their water usage will be less than a residential neighborhood of kind of that same footprint. The only water they're really using is for normal office processes. They're not even using water for cooling that one. So that's an example of how things can change over time.
So lots of changes in technology. We've seen the increase in demand. I've heard you also talk about a view a number of years ago. We would have thought that wind or solar was more expensive, and we were sort of forcing that. But you're saying that that's an economical source of energy. So a lot of things that maybe were true a while back change as technology changes, and it's important to stay up on that. How can we do that? How can we make sure that we understand the facts these days?
Um, well, our website has a lot of information for that. We every year we publish our sustainability report, and that is available on our website as well. It's broken down into nice little snippets, so you don't have to try to read and absorb some huge document and figure out where the pieces are. You can literally look at the different topics, and it will kind of bring you through the different areas. That's one good resource at least.
Let's talk a little bit about the bigger picture too, because one of the things we heard is that you're involved in a lot of the economic development conversations, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not just about energy, but energy that has to be at the table, part of it. But then you also do end up, thinking about things like workforce and housing and how our communities develop. So, any perspective that you've been in your position for 10 years
Right.
and longer than that with Xcel. What has changed? What's your kind of view of this region, the Chippewa Valley and west central Wisconsin? How are we doing, and what's our future look like?
Wow, according to me, huh?
Yes.
No, I think, well, I feel blessed to be able to have a job that and work for a company that is so involved. And I don't think people realize why or how an energy company, why it would matter to us being that involved in the whole economic development cycle. But I personally have just watched it evolve, and I really find it interesting. Um, it all goes hand in hand, right? We need we need the growth of new business to bring new tax base to a community, so we can stop maybe having referendums for schools every year, so we can have more money in our region, so we don't have, people raising their taxes, people having their taxes raised all the time, things like that. um, Business retention is so important. You need to make sure that the existing businesses are listened to and felt like they're important. Otherwise, if they think you're just looking for the shiny new star, they're going to pick up and grow somewhere else, and then you're going to have that loss there. But in order to have those businesses be successful, of course, you need the housing and the housing developments, and you need everything from workforce housing to executive level housing. So all of those pieces are so very important. And I really see the Chippewa Valley continuing to grow. It's proven we're the number two, I believe, growing one of two growing communities or counties in the state of Wisconsin. We're number two behind Dane County right now, I believe. So that really speaks volumes for what we have going on here and what we're doing. And I think it's a very important time for us to be thoughtful and planful about what we see for growth and how we want to grow, and ensuring that we're being transparent with folks and talking, like you said, having coffee or talking like we are now, to make sure everyone is on the same page and feeling like their questions are being heard and answered. So
Terrific. So one of the, uh, I guess I might ask you, what do you think is the biggest strength we have, and what is our biggest challenge right now as a region
whew,
economically?
I think our biggest strength is that we have wonderful educational opportunities, and those are so good at blending with the business opportunities. We've seen that at Sonintag with the partnership with Mayo and the university. We have such strong um, technical and university schools here throughout the Chippewa Valley, and ensuring that we have that workforce needed for the diverse manufacturing opportunities we have in our community. Um, we're just a really strong, well working region, I think. Our challenge, I think, is like anyone else. I think we need to ensure we kind of have a plan for where we're going to go and how we're going to get there. And affording those things is also a challenge for every community. Like we mentioned earlier, there's a lot of school referendums and just, talks about increases of taxes and how everyone's going to do these things. There's a lot happening, and I think politically we're strong in our region. We have some wonderful legislators on the state side, and we also have some great local governments that work well together, and I think that will continue to be strong. But that's strong, but a challenge to make sure that we continue down that road. So,
Well, Julie, we appreciate that perspective. Any last words that I think you just maybe gave them, but anything else you'd like to say?
yeah, I think that was probably close to everything. We really appreciate you having me on today, and we're really blessed to be part of this community and part of our state, and we really do enjoy being a utility that's able to be here for our customers for many years to come. So.
Well, we appreciate it, Julie, for joining us today. We appreciate you joining us. We appreciate the folks that are listening. Our media sponsor, Home Tech by Mosaic. We do want to remind you, coming up, we've had a very serious conversation today, but one of the things the Chamber does every spring is something called Chamber Royale, and that's just a fun casino night with fake money. on April 16th at the Eau Claire Event District. So watch for that, or go to our website and sign up for that. And then one other thing that I want to mention is I've had the privilege of working with Julie for a long time. She actually chairs the Governmental Affairs Committee right now, and I have been serving for the last 12 years as the Senior Director of Governmental Affairs. And this is my last podcast because I'm retiring and moving on. So just want to say thanks to everybody. Thanks to you, Julie, and the entire chamber staff and our investors. This is Scott Rogers along with Julie Thoney signing off.
And we will miss you very much, Scott.
Thank you.
Congrats and best wishes.